Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out Mondays, where we tell you what we're into. Start your week off right. I'm Tauri Jay.
I am Lex Michael.
And this Monday, we are joined by good best friend in the whole wide world, Frank Moran.
Holy cow, I got a promotion.
Hell yeah.
I went from acquaintance to best friend in mere seconds.
You were never an acquaintance. You were always in here.
You got that bump, which means somebody else was passed over. So I would watch your back. I would sleep with both eyes open. I would sleep with your third eye open. Make sure all your chakras are balanced to become the most
stay woke.
effective defensive killing machine possible. Hey, Frank.
Hey, Lex.
Frank is going to be joining us tomorrow for our main show. But this week, we really want to know, what are you into?
You know what I'm into? And certainly I love comics. That's this little sneak peek about what I may be talking about tomorrow. But let's not talk about comics, guys. Let's talk about a great show on Fox.
Okay.
MasterChef.
Oh,
man. It is back for another season, guys. Season 10, bigger than ever. I am so in the tank for the show. Hosted by Gordon Ramsay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the tank for anything Gordon Ramsay does. I will check it out. Then you've got Joe Bastianich, who's one of my favorite judges there on MasterChef. He's a restaurateur. Worked with Mario Batali a lot to open up the Eataly's that you see in various places.
Okay.
I think he is, of course, distanced himself then, I believe, from Mr. Mario Batali after all the incidents that he had. And then you've got Aaron Sanchez, who you may know from the Food Network. He had his own show where he would go around eating really hot things. And I always liked it because it would always just be, I'm going to this place, I'm eating something really hot. And then all his reaction would be like, woo! And that's all it would be. It'd be that for a 30-minute show. I'm going to this place, eat something hot, woo! And then he'd leave and go do something else.
This genuinely sounds like exactly my kind of programming.
Yes. So all it is that they're trying to find the best home cook in America. They get everybody around. They narrow it down to, I believe, top 20 contestants. And then they just start whittling away until they get to the number one MasterChef at the end of the summer. So its second episode just aired last week. So coming up, when this comes out, it'll be episode 3. It'll be coming out. So perfect time to still get in and enjoy the rest of the season.
Nice.
I'm a sucker for it.
Will I understand this season if I have not seen seasons 1 through 9?
Yeah, you will. Of course, it is.
How deep is the lore?
Basically, it's the same kind of culinary competition. They're just going to give them a series of challenges. The first one, they'll do one challenge that whoever wins will give them some advantage coming up into the elimination challenge. They'll get immunity from the elimination challenge, and then they get to, more often than not, decide what the rest of the chefs will be cooking for this elimination challenge. And then somebody gets eliminated. They always say, like, at least one, maybe more, but they never do more. It's always just one. Just one guy. So, yeah, that's a spoiler, guys. If you see, like Gordon Ramsay say, and possibly one or more judges, contestants could go home, it'll just be one, guys.
Ooh. I mean, do the people who are eliminated, or person who's eliminated, become the dish for the next week?
Yeah, they are served up. Yeah, they become your main ingredient that you've got to use.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like at the end of every show, as the credits roll, you see, and like you have to squint because the credits are rolling over it, but the losing contestant being dragged off by a couple of big dudes going, no!
Yeah. And their sign off is, "You're about to be served," and that's what initiates the credits and the dragging sequence.
I mean, you've got Joe Bastianich. He gives the best stink eye in the business if you're in a cooking competition show and you're wondering if your dish tastes good or not. He will come up and he'll bite it and he will just give you this vacant, dead look inside. It's like, who do you think you are to come into my...
Oh, well, but I could do that.
Yeah,
well, do it.
Yeah, and
What's
then become a
stopping you?
restaurateur.
I'm coming for y'all. What's his name again?
Joe Bastianich.
I'm coming for y'all, Joe Bastianich. You
That's
better
right.
sleep with your third eye open.
Man, holy cow! A lot of people have to be fearful for their life after this.
He just threatens. Don't even worry about it.
All bark.
But see, I'm excited because Joe left for a few seasons, so he finally came back last season and then this season, and the show is improved immeasurably by having him part of the judges panel. So Aaron is fine. You come there for Gordon Ramsay for his culinary knowledge and his excellence. Joe Bastianich just gives these, he just hates everybody. So to get a compliment out of him, you know you've done something right.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it's well worth it if you love. I mean, there's the formulaic parts that come in any sort of competition format. So forget those aside. Just enjoy the personalities of the three people, and then there'll be those chefs that you get to know along the way that'll either drive you crazy or you find yourself rooting for. Mm-hmm. Will they make it to the end? Who knows? You got to watch the summer and find out.
Ooh, that's a good tease.
Yeah.
Lex, what are you into?
So this week I watched all 6 episodes of I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson on Netflix.
I just got into that.
You just got into it.
Yes.
Okay, Frank, have you seen it?
The first 2 or 3 episodes.
Okay, so I watched all 6, and you can get through it really quick. It's only 6 episodes. They're all under 20 minutes. It's hard to go into too much detail without spoiling specific, I don't even know if you could call them jokes necessarily, but moments.
Yeah.
And of course, it's comedy, as you know, is all about subversion of expectation. And if we're talking subversion of expectation, Tauri, we've talked frequently on this show about my sense of humor and how the things that tend to make me laugh the hardest are the things that, if comedy subversion of expectation, catch me the most off guard.
Yeah.
Which means usually it's got to be something that while I'm laughing is making me go, holy shit. And this show is a perfect storm of elements that I find both deeply hilarious and profoundly upsetting.
Yes.
And that's the sweet spot for me, whereas even if it's not objectively funny, the fact that they'll occasionally take a hard pivot into a genuinely upsetting place, I'm sitting there, I'm dying, I'm doubled over. Like, I feel like I have not watched, I'm not a big, when I sit and I watch something by myself, even if I think it's genuinely funny, I don't tend to laugh out loud. I'll be feeling it internally, and I'll be like, that was genuinely funny. I'm feeling it. It is bringing me happiness and laughter, but it's all internal. And this was a show I'd be sitting there watching it by myself at 2 a.m, just cackling out loud, or literally going, holy shit. There is it's so difficult to talk about it with any specificity. There's a bit in the final episode, the last bit they do, involving a Garfield house.
Yes.
That is one of my favorite pieces of comedy that I have seen probably in the past several years. It's hilarious. You can get through it very, very quickly. It's, like I keep saying, it's hilarious, but also profoundly upsetting in places.
Yeah.
If that sounds like it might appeal to you, I feel like you'll get a lot out of it. I was turned on to it by a good friend of mine who watched it probably, it sounds like a good 2 or 3 times in the span of a couple of days, the entire thing, and has been quoting it near incessantly since he started watching it. And so I finally went, you know what, I didn't realize there was so little of it. I went, okay, I can get into this, get through it in a day or two. It's a ride.
Yeah. They're like 17-minute episodes. It's sketch comedy, basically, though, like, kind of what you were pointing at, that, like, towards the latter half of the season, they start doing, or maybe I didn't notice it until I started getting deeper in, but, like, their, like, opening bits start to kind of bleed into their later bits, which becomes really interesting, because it almost, at that point, gets kind of like Mr. Show, Bob and David-esque.
Yeah.
But I also like that, and I think it's been stated that the kind of thesis statement of the show is that it is a bunch of people committing so hard to things, to the point where they will do anything to not be proven wrong in any given moment.
Yes. And part of where a lot of the more upsetting aspects of these sketches come in is how committed they are to this bit and how committed they are to the premise. And so they're constantly, like you say, like they're constantly doubling, tripling, quadrupling down so as not to admit fault, for example.
Right.
And it goes to some truly, truly dark spots.
Oh yeah, there's the one where it's at the guy's birthday party that just
with
goes,
Stephen Yeun.
Yes. It just goes so wrong, and you're like, oh, and that's a great example of just like doubling down on all of this. You're like, wow, this poor guy.
The one that I still like, I had to rewatch earlier today, is in episode 4, I believe. It's the "Hunk If You're Horny" sketch. I find myself, like, I will be doing something unrelated, and just I will think back to it, and I'm even like beginning to laugh right now because it just that gets me. It's the ultimate epitome of my humor. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
The first episode and the last episode, I think, are my favorites. And the first episode, there's a sketch involving essentially it's like a baby pageant.
Yes.
There was a point, and I won't give it away because I don't want to oversell the moment. But there's a moment. Oh fuck it! When they reveal the name of the doctor, that's when my drink went into my eye. But it's great. I genuinely hope we get more of the show because it's one of the funnier things that I have seen in recent memory.
Yeah, I mean to see the struggles that he had on Saturday Night Live, and then he gets to do Detroiters, and then finally this, and finally to see people like, yeah, we like what you're doing. That is great, given the struggles that he had early out with SNL.
Yeah, we need to figure out what Chunky's deal is now going to be my mantra, I think. There's another sketch in the final episode, essentially involving, it's a game show, and they have a mascot that will come and mess with contestants in a certain way if they pick the wrong card, right. Essentially. But the mascot is very much, they're not clear on what the shtick is supposed to be at all, and it's profoundly uncomfortable.
Yes. Because it reminds me of the Japanese mascots, but like a more vicious version of it. It's great.
Anyway, it's a great show. So that's what I've been watching. That, and also we talked about it a handful of weeks ago, but I am finally watching Barry, and I'm halfway through the second season, and I'm bringing it up. I thought I wasn't going to bring it up because, Tauri, you already talked about it, but I will say, and I said this to you off mic, guys, if you have not watched Barry, holy crap, watch Barry, especially given that Bill Hader not only stars in it, co-created it, writes a good chunk of it with his creative partner, and also directed a bunch of them. It's staggeringly impressive, so much so that I sat there the entire time feeling like a dumb asshole because it is that good. It is so good, and it is so good that it almost makes you feel bad about yourself with how good it is. And that's it. Also, yes, NoHo Hank rules.
Yes. Have you gotten to season 2, episode 4?
That's the most recent one I watched, where no spoilers, but where they're building one. It seems very much like they're building a plot and character arc in a certain direction, and at the end of the episode, the rug gets pulled out from under Barry, and it expresses surprise, and that's where I'm at in the season, the halfway point in the season.
Okay. Because I believe it's that one, or episode 5, that is written, directed by Bill Hader, which could effectively be its own like standalone thing. Like you could watch it outside the context of the show and still like get a lot of joy out of it. I mean, having the context of the show really enhances it, but also just in and of itself, it's the weirdest episode of the whole show, and it's so good.
That's it, and it's the next one I got, so I'll probably be watching that tonight. But the other thing I will say is, if you have ever taken an acting class in Los Angeles, holy shit, is this show painfully real.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts how real it is.
Pivoting really hard away from comedy, I'm into Chernobyl. I just watched the whole thing.
I watched Chernobyl too, and I thought about bringing that up, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah, it hurts. Like, I couldn't watch the whole first episode in one sitting. If you're unfamiliar with Chernobyl, I hate to call it like a dramatization, but it's like a retelling featured on HBO about the events of Chernobyl, and it goes in stark detail, and it's gruesome, and you really get a sense of like the horrors of what took place when the reactor exploded, and all of the politics and the bureaucracy that everyone who was trying to help had to deal with. And it's hard to watch.
It's devastating. And obviously on one level, right, you have the immediate visceral devastation of seeing the impact of that reactor explosion and seeing all of the people that are directly impacted by it and what happens to their bodies, and they depict it in pretty horrifying detail.
Right.
But then also the circumstances under which, we know that we're going to have to essentially let some people die to try and mitigate this in any way. But what becomes even more upsetting, and what makes the things that are upsetting already doubly so, is how so much of what happened seems to be directly the result of not just mechanical failure, but institutional and bureaucratic failure as well. And the addition of ego and pettiness and obfuscation and lies into the mix, right? It's a perfect storm of mechanical and human failing. And it's the fact that human factor is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's also so common. And that's just as big a cause of what happened as anything else. And that to me makes it all the more upsetting, because once the reactor explodes, all of the horrific things that happen are to an extent inevitable.
Right.
But these human choices were not inevitable. There were choices that were made before it happened that led to it happening, and there were choices made after it happened that led to the situation being far more catastrophic than it might have been otherwise. And holy shit, does that make it an even tougher watch than it would have been.
Oh, yeah. Also, shout out to Emily Watson.
Yes.
She is playing a character who is essentially an amalgam of hundreds of scientists who helped to try to piece together what happened in Chernobyl. And so they boiled down a lot of that into her character. And one, I'm really glad that they made that character a woman. And two, she kills it. So I really wanted to specifically call out her and her acting and her role in the whole show.
Yes, agreed completely. And of course, the other two leads, Jared Harris and Stellan Skarsgård, also doing really incredible work.
Yeah.
And I listened to an interview. HBO did a great companion podcast with creator, writer Craig Mazin. And they were talking about there are no Russian accents in it. It seems like just about everybody's played by a Brit, or I know Stellan Skarsgård is Swedish, I believe.
Right.
Or Norwegian, Swedish?
Yeah, something.
He's a guy.
He exists.
But they made a decision at a certain point not to go with Russian accents because Craig Mazin was talking about, like, we all grew up with Boris and Natasha, and because of that, it's like if we're doing the accents, there's a chance it's going to become too comedic too quickly. So they jettisoned that idea. But I also want to shout out Craig Mazin and what a truly incredible job he did with this show, and also just how dang interesting his filmography is. Do you know, can you rattle off some of Craig Mazin's other credits? Because I can.
No, go ahead.
Let's see, screenwriting credits on Scary Movie 3 and 4, superhero movie, a couple of The Hangovers.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So going from that to, and I don't really have I haven't seen a lot of the movies he's written. I know them by reputation, as you may as well.
Yeah, Scary Movie 3 is great. But the best one.
Isn't that the one where like the aliens pee through their fingers?
Probably. It's the best one according to white people.
Great.
Huh. Is that true?
That's the feedback I've gotten.
Is that true?
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, Craig Mazin, writer on that one. But it's incredible looking at his filmography. There is nothing that you would see in the finished product or knowing what you know about some of those movies that would lead you to think this dude's got something like this in him, which I think, it's proof positive to me. You don't necessarily know what somebody's capable of based on their the perception of their output, especially in the entertainment business. But it's just incredible to see that type of movie could be the bulk of somebody's filmography, and then all of a sudden they pivot and they give you something like this. And I think Chernobyl is one of the most yes, devastating, but it's so devastating because it is one of the most well-constructed, I think, masterful pieces of TV writing that I've seen certainly in the last several years. And it's really incredible. And it's so to Mazin's credit that it comes from the same guy.
Yeah. So, guys, watch Chernobyl. Watch everything. Watch MasterChef. Watch, what did you talk about?
I think you should leave with
leave
Tim Robinson and of course, Barry.
Yes. Cool. And also let us know what you're into. You can do so at Missing Outcast, MissingOutcast. And if you tune in tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the ultimate crossover of DC and Marvel, Justice League America / Avengers. That's what it's called.
You have to say the slash.
You have to say it.
Or it doesn't count. And
right.
You sound like a dumb dumb person dummy.
Yeah. Why it wasn't called JL Avengers, I will never know.
Jill Avengers.
Yeah. Didn't that person, didn't Jill Avengers play Steve Urkel? That's a stupid joke. Anyways, so
It's barely even a joke. Like, I think I get it, but it doesn't sound enough like Jaleel White to not be nonsense.
All jokes are nonsense. Fuck you. But yeah, join us tomorrow when we're gonna break it down. We're gonna talk about it. It's fun. It's great. Frank is gonna be joining us.
Sorry, guys.
No, they're like, hell yeah. Where can we talk to this guy until then?
Happy Go Jack Me on those Twittergrams, everybody. Tune in tomorrow for the really boring story behind that Twitter handle.
We get the origin.
But you gotta wait until the end. We're not gonna tell you at the beginning. You gotta wait. But what about you, Lex? Where can people find you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at the Lex Michael.
Awesome. And you can find me at Tauri Jay, Tauri Jay. So make sure to join us tomorrow. It's going to be so fun. Until then, see you later.